Action. Action.
Wait, now?
Yes,
Oh.
now.
Okay. As you all know, there are so many problems within the world. We've got poverty, we've got cancer, diseases, and war. And most of the time, the deaths that are occurrence of these are out of our hands. But there are some deaths that are completely our choice and completely 100% preventable. One of which is distracted driving. Now, distracted driving is defined as any activity that diverts the driver's attention away from the primary task of driving. Now, you might automatically think texting and driving. And yes, that is a big part, but there are so many other factors. There are 3 main types of distracted driving. The first one is a visual distraction. Now, visual distraction is doing something that requires the driver to look away from the roadway. Now, a good example of this would be if you have a passenger, you're going to go look over and talk with them, or if you're going to change the radio station and you look down just for a split second. That could also occur for an accident. Now, the second one is a manual distraction. That is doing something that requires you to take your hands off the steering wheel. A very common form of this is when you go through a drive-thru and you want to eat a juicy burger on the way out. We've all done it, but that is a form of distracted driving, is eating while you drive. Now, the third one is a slippery slope, because we don't realize most of the time when we're doing it. It's a mental distraction. That is thinking about something other than driving. A good example of this would be if people get into fights, often spouses, and maybe one of them goes on the road not in the right mindset to drive. And unfortunately, a lot of times this can cause an accident and even lead to death. Now, like I said before, texting and driving is not a great part of this talk. However, it is one of the most common forms of distracted driving. And as you can see here, it's very common because texting involves all 3 of these forms of distracted driving. So it's important to keep that in mind. Now, here are some facts about distracted driving. You can see that distracted driving over the years hasn't changed much, and that's why I want to address this topic. When we had those educational lessons as a kid and sat down and heard some speaker talk about the dangers of it, we didn't understand. And maybe we blew it off, and maybe you might even think this is an overdone topic, but this is 2010, and that is 2016. It stayed pretty gradual, but it has had an increased spike, and so nothing has changed. It needs to be readdressed because technology is only getting more advanced and becoming more of a distraction for us today. Now, here are some quick facts about texting and driving because it is the primary source for distracted driving. And texting and driving is 6 times more likely to get in an accident than drunk driving. That's right, it's better for you to get in a car and be wasted than it is for you to be texting and driving. Now, nearly half of drivers admit to answering their cell phones while driving, and most scientists agree that texting and driving makes you 20 times more likely to crash. Now, the second most common form of distracted driving is eating, but it doesn't even come close to the death toll than texting and driving. And so the number 1 fun fact I'd like to share with you is at the bottom right, it's a football field, and it says at 55 miles per hour, sending or reading a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of about 5 seconds. And if you do so at that speed, you are driving the entire length of a football field completely blind. So you might want to keep that in mind next time you pull out your phone, just for a few seconds. We've talked about the bad, we've heard it all go down. What are solutions? There are many types of solutions on different levels. We have the federal government, the local government, and just a personal level. So some simple solutions on a federal government level include 2 years ago, President Obama issued an executive order prohibiting federal employees from texting while driving on any government business or with government equipment. So this might make you think, well, wait, it's illegal all over the U.S. But in fact, that's a myth. It's not. Some states allow it. Now, most states have banned it, but it's still a thing. Now, the NHTSA began the distracted driving campaign and to raise awareness of the dangers of distracted driving, which has been largely successful. Now that's all federal government, and next we're moving into local government, much closer to home. So on state level, many states are enacting laws such as banning texting while driving and making school requirements to educate students on the dangers of distracted driving. As of June 2017, texting while driving is banned from only 46 states. So that's right, 4 states are still missing. And keep in mind, the District of Columbia is included in this statistic. Now, these are all things we do on a large level. But ultimately, when you get into the car, it's completely up to you. These guys aren't in the car with you. So here are some quick tips on how to prevent distracted driving from happening to you. Now, the first one is just put the phone away. Put it out of sight, put it on silent mode, just get it out of your review sight so you're not even tempted. And if you like to put on music or listen to audiobooks like I do, turn it on before initiating vehicle motion. If you know you must read it, pull over. It's not that big of a deal. Just pull over and then answer the text real quick. If you want to put on any makeup, eat, or whatever else you want to do it when you arrive at your destination. That way you know how much time you have, and that way you're not doing it inside the car. And a kind of small tip I found helpful when I was first driving, I realized it's pretty hard if I need a drink of water to have a water bottle and twist it off with both hands and kind of driving with my elbows. So don't do me. Instead, just get something that's like a sippy cup or something that clicks, a water bottle that clicks open with one, so you can just do it with one hand if you have to. Now, these are all things you do when you're the driver. However, when someone else is the driver and you're the passenger, it's a big concern for your safety. But it's also awkward because no one likes a backseat driver telling the driver how to drive. So here are some fun, quick tips on how to prevent that without the driver even considering getting mad at you. So the first one is if they're reaching for their phone, pick it up and ask them what they want to do. That's nice, convenient, and they get what they want done, and you are helping out yourself. The second is ask them a question out of the blue. In the spirit of Christmas, I include a little gift, Buddy the Elf. What's your favorite color? So, yeah. Third is point out something on the road. I love movies. Another movie reference is Shrek, when Donkey goes, "I like that boulder." That is a nice boulder. So just point out something random. I do it all the time inside the car, and it keeps their mind now totally out the thought of texting and driving. And the last one is my personal favorite for texting and driving. It's a video made by the New Zealand government, and it's hilarious. I'm going to embed it in the link below, so please watch it. It's only like a minute and a half or something like that, but it's so great and so worth it. Now, distracted driving obviously is an issue, and it's a preventable death. That's what I want you to walk away with, that this is something that's completely within your hands, and you don't want to determine your life by such a thing, or you don't want to determine someone else's life with such a silly act. So, be careful of the choice you make, because it's going to be you who lives with it. So thank you for listening. End of video. Thank you guys for this class. It's been awesome working with you. And good luck on finals. You got this. Bye.